you're just now joining us, Ohio State number 2 in the preseason coaches poll. Texas number 1. Be the first time ever that you'll open up the season in Ohio State history number 1 versus number 2.
There can't have been that many preseason number 1 and number 2s going head to head ever. You'd think I might have looked up that stat before, but I'm just wildly.
It might be the first time that it's ever happened.
I bet it's happened before.
You think?
People used to wildly overrate Florida State and Miami back when they were playing in the openers.
I did see Kyle Rowland tweet this out. Ohio State and Texas have played 5 times. Both teams have been ranked inside of the top 10 for all 5 meetings. Back in 2005, you had 2 versus 4. 2006, it was 1 versus 2, but I don't think that opened up the season, Austin. 2009 in the Fiesta Bowl was 3 versus 10. Last year, it was 5 versus 8 in the semifinals, and then this year now it's 1 and 2 again. So, I mean, anytime that you tussle with Texas, 1, it's usually a pretty good game. 2, both those teams are way up there.
It's almost like they're 2 of the largest revenue-producing athletic departments in the country. Is there any correlation between that?
I mean, it could be.
There's 2 football-crazed states, flagship institutions. Could that be? I don't know. Is that something about that? I don't know.
I think it's a wild guess.
I just think it's interesting that they get to play each other. I
think it's a wild speculation on your part.
Guys going out there and getting some exercise.
That's all we're looking for.
It's going to be fun.
I can't wait to hear.
Just what you needed was to dump a little bit more gasoline on this matchup. Here they are. Oh, what's going to happen at quarterback?
I don't think we needed any more gasoline.
Don't need any more, but we're
good.
The coaches are like, watch this. Sark and Ryan Day are going to have to deal with this for the rest of the month. We're going to vote them number 1 and 2 just for fun.
Yeah, just to see what happens. Just to prop up those Fox ratings. As if it needed any more of a prop boost. You could have 3 versus 5 or 2 versus 3, and it wouldn't have mattered.
I think people probably would have watched it.
I think probably. I was going to watch.
Yeah, I was going to.
Although if it was 4 versus 5,
You sitting it out?
Yeah, press box snob. I'm actually a preseason coaches poll ranking snob.
I knew it.
Yeah, if they were anything but 1 and 2.
You disgust me.
If it was anything but 1 and 2, I don't think I would have.
This kind of snobbery won't stand.
Matt Patricia was giving media interviews on Friday, Austin. He also joined, I believe he joined The Juice on Friday. Maybe he joined T-Bone and Tyvus. I don't know. One was Thursday, one was Friday. He was all over the place on these airwaves and thought this was a good one from him. And the defense coordinating that he is going to be doing versus the last 3 years we saw under Jim Knowles. Here was his answer to that one.
Look, we have great coaches that are here, that were here last year. And I think it's my job to really kind of make sure I'm adapting and learning to what we did really well last year because obviously it was great. And we have great coaches that coach, these guys really well and develop these players at a high level. So I think from that standpoint, there'll be some things that are very similar to what everybody's used to. I maybe teach a little bit differently. That's probably the only, I can't really speak on it. I just teach the way that I do. It's more conceptually and big picture and things like that, which gives us a little bit more position flex and multiplicity from that standpoint to put guys in different roles.
And listen, we've talked about this a lot, Austin, since Matt Patricia got here, right before spring ball, that it was going to be necessarily to the naked eye. It's probably not going to be a lot more different than what you've seen in a continuation of a Jim Knowles defense. But to know and understand what your players are good at to put them in the best position to succeed, which is what he was talking about, maybe the multiplicity factor and moving, let's say, Caleb up from roamer to nickel, like just kind of doing some things that are, and I know he talked about that as well, that is not necessarily going to be like, wow, you are totally just blowing my mind on what you are unleashing with this Ohio State defense. But maybe to make it more efficient than what it was in the past, just saying, hey, you're back there. That's all I need you to do.
A lot of the conversation that has been occurring there with Ohio State and with Matt Patricia about what this defense is going to look like and how different it could be is about like week-to-week stuff or even drive-to-drive stuff with different packages, adjusting the personnel because Ohio State has the talent and the size, strength, speed, physical profiles to do pretty much anything Matt Patricia can dream up, which is a lot of things. That Bible that he jots down stuff throughout his career is pretty extensive.
Very robust.
And includes just about every kind of concept that you could ever play in football. So, there's going to be times where we see Arvell Reese creeping up and rushing the passer and 3 linebacker looks that maybe wouldn't have been as prevalent the last couple of years. And C.J. Hicks doing this and packaging Kenyatta Jackson and Bo Atkinson for this over here and C.J. Hicks and Caden Curry for that over there.
Defensive ends being lined up on maybe an offensive tackle's shoulders instead of being wide out. Like, it's going to be pretty minute, I think, the difference is.
Or, leaning into some of the things that Larry Johnson has already done well, like moving someone like Caden Curry maybe to get some reps at 3 technique. All these things are, within reach. I think the highest profile example of that already is the conversation about using Caleb Downs at times as the big nickel. Mm-hmm. Does that mean that we're going to see it 50 times this year? 500 times? I don't know. Probably closer to the former than the latter, and you can have positional flexibility based on what Malik Hartford and Jalen McLean can do well, which is great. That's what you want. But I think when you retain Larry Johnson, when you have James Laurinaitis back, when you have McInerney and Tim Walton holding over from the previous staff, they all have ways that they teach things that they like to do. And Ryan Day alluded to this at Big Ten Media Days when he said, well, overall, it's the Ohio State defense. It is not the Matt Patricia defense. That has always been the way he's talked about the Ohio State offense, which was code for the Ryan Day offense.
Yes.
Now I think that there's an overarching perspective on what he wants the defense to look like, and he has filled out the rest of that staff with guys who can do that accordingly, and now has Matt Patricia who can tweak one thing here, make an adjustment there, install a different game plan, maybe have more creativity at times. And I don't mean that either as a slight on Jim Knowles, who had the number 1 defense in the country and helped Ohio State win the national championship. But there had been times when you would see maybe some rigidity and stubbornness with the scheme.
Yeah.
That's not based on him alone. I think all coaches can fall into that trap. But Matt Patricia has the ability, I think, to carry over what was done before. And when we've talked about the relationships he's built and the hugs and all that stuff with the Buckeyes, it's not just about forming bonds with the players. That's important for the coaches as well. So I think Matt Patricia's done a really good job for that. He also was the first one to say, we'll get to August 30th, and maybe the conversation will be different, or maybe it'll be even better.
Here was him talking about Caleb Downs and maybe moving him in some packages to that nickel and what makes Caleb exceptionally good at that.
His ability to kind of play, whether it's nickel or safety, or maybe he's just aligned up in some different, areas. It's just his communication. He's such a good communicator, just to kind of let everybody know we have words that settle everything down. Even though I may be lined up in something that may look like a certain position, it may not be that position, but the communication tells everybody what it is. And that's critical. Otherwise, everyone's kind of like, where are we going and how does this all fit? So his ability to do that is really kind of what makes that go.
Yeah, not to say that Caleb wasn't a leader on last year's team, but you look at the guys around him, he didn't necessarily need to be one. I mean, 8 of your guys got drafted. You had Lathan Ransom right next to you. Like, you had Cody Simon in front of you. You had all these different guys around you. Like, Caleb could just see what was in front of him and kind of react to that. Now that Caleb has been thrust into a leadership position, and again, he was one of the best players in college football last year. We're expecting that same output again from him this year, but taking on a little bit more of that role, Austin saying, yeah, if I need to get more versatile, if I need, maybe we're better if I'm in the nickel and then we've got other guys behind me. Like, there's certain things that I feel like that I can do well. Like, that's a big evolution of an individual prospect in Caleb Downs. But also, if it opens up things on the back end for Ohio State, like Matt Patricia, I'm sure, is going to explore every area that he possibly can to make sure that this is one of the best defenses in the country.
Well, if you have the ultimate chess piece available to you, you're better off using it.
Yeah.
Like, if you have a queen, you don't have to just move it like a rook. You can do whatever you want with Caleb Downs.
Like a knight, like a bishop.
There's
a pawn.
The only limit is your imagination.
It's true.
And we've already established that Matt Patricia has a pretty vivid one. And if he sees this could be the role, and it's not that Matt Patricia looked at Caleb Downs like, it would be cool if you played nickel.
Yeah.
Because you can cover and you can hit and you can move all around. It's about, what if we need you to play nickel? Let's experiment for the first few days of camp. This doesn't mean that Caleb Downs is going to stay there, or that has to be the solution for this iteration of the Silver Bullets. It's going to depend on what Malik Hartford looks like, what Jalen McLean looks like, what Lorenzo Styles looks like, what Bryce West and Aaron Scott, what they look like. What does Ohio State need? And they have the ultimate solution in someone in Caleb Downs who could play any spot that you ask him to in the back. He can play linebacker if you need him to as well. He can do anything. So he's going to
running back, really, if you need him to.
Let's not start that again. I think we've ruled that one off.
What about punt returner for a little bit?
Well, it worked okay against Indiana last year.
Did
so
nice.
Seems like that could be something that you keep in your back pocket. But That's the same thing with nickel. Like, maybe he plays that many big nickel snaps that he did punt return last year. We're going to talk about it because anything you do with Caleb Downs is worth discussing.
Yes, it is.
But I think where he ultimately settles, he could be the perfect example of the week by week and game by game. What do you need against this opponent? Well, here's what Matt Patricia did with Caleb Downs this week. Here's what it meant to the rest of the scheme.
Yeah.
I think that's what this year's going to be like.
Here was Matt Patricia talking about the defensive line depth. And this was the day after that Edric Houston, the injury happened, but here was him talking about that.
I think the summer those guys had a different mindset to come in and work, and with Coach Mick, really push their bodies, really work on getting stronger, being able to, use the leverage that they have, and that's what we're looking for now. It's hard without pads on to kind of get a judge on all that. We'll get a good look at it as we put them on tomorrow, but I think they really understand, like, hey, it's time to go. It's your time to get out there. It's, those older guys aren't here anymore, and we've got to have a different mindset about that. We've got to have a mindset where this is my job, I got to go earn a job, or I have to have this position, or the team needs me here and I got to really do a good job of playing this role. So I think that pressure is on them. I think they feel it. I think Coach Johnson's the best there is, so he's got them going in the direction we need them to, and we need to see that tomorrow when we put the pads on.
I also too think inherently that pressure is a good thing, right?
I believe it's a privilege.
Pressure is a privilege. I forget who I was listening to the other day who said that. And it was not Ryan Day, but some coach said, and I don't know. I've been watching NFL Network all day, training camp reports, and some
CJ Stroud.
Yeah, some camp when pressure is a privilege. Coach said that, and I'm like, you know what? Pressure is a privilege.
That's right.
But yeah, I mean, guys being thrust into these situations, like it's go time. It's go time for a lot of these guys right now. It's big years for them.
Massive year. Yeah. Like, this is it. This is what you've been building for. If you're Kenyatta Jackson, if you're Caden Curry, you spent 3 years working on special teams and coming off the bench and playing 10 or 15 snaps when you get a good chance behind JT and Jack. This is it. I mean, there's no tomorrow. CJ Hicks, there's really no tomorrow. All your eggs are now in this basket. This is what you wanted. You weren't quite translating and you weren't getting the playing time you wanted at linebacker. You felt like this would be the move for you and you get to make something happen on the edge. Here it is. This is the training camp. And you've seen all of those guys meet that moment, I think. The number of Iron Buckeyes, the dudes of the week stuff that have been handed out over the last few months. Nobody's getting shortchanged there. These veterans that Ohio State has more seniors than you'd expect for a team that has to replace that many NFL draft picks. And, you can say, well, they haven't proven it to this point, and shouldn't they have done it by now? I don't know. Was it Caden Curry's fault that he was behind Jack and JT for 4 years? Nobody expected that those guys were going to be here that long. He stuck it out because he wanted to be at Ohio State. For one, he believed in Larry Johnson to develop him. For two, that opportunity.
Is it Brandon Innis's fault that Emeka Egbuka came back for his senior year?
No. And I've asked Brandon Innis, I've had probably 5 conversations with him about that and the selflessness and the decision that he made to stick around. He was the number 1 ranked wide receiver in the country 3 years ago. Every other program would have given him anything he asked for in NIL. The moment that Emeka came back, or even last year, when you have Carnell Tate deciding to stick around along with Jeremiah Smith, you can get whatever you want. No, this is where I want to be. I made a promise. I made a commitment to the vision. I see what Brian Hartline does. Going to go compete for a championship. I want to be a leader. He was on the leadership committee a year ago.
Yep.
I love the way Brandon Innis talks about it. He's the perfect example for what we're talking about. Now's your moment. Have you been making the most of it to prepare for it? It sure looks like it. And we're going to find out on August 30th. We're already finding out now that we're 4 days into camp.
More camp observations with Austin coming up next. It's the Buckeye Show on The Fan.